Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Now, on this show, I am passionate about getting as many diverse voices from all over the world onto this show. And in the last week alone, we've had guests in everywhere from Russia to Israel to UK to India. And today, I want to extend that even further because I'm going to take you on a trip to Nicaragua. And that's where Daniel Alvarado from White Shark Media is waiting to speak with us today. And as we prepare for life in 2022, I want to explore some digital marketing strategies that businesses can implement in 2022 and explore areas such as marketing automation, audience segmentation, automated bidding, business listings, and much more. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Central America, where Daniel Alvarado is waiting to share his story. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Well, my name is Daniel Alvarado. I am the VP of Technology for White Shark Media, a leading agency in the digital marketing space. I've been working in the marketing technology industry for over 8 years, and it never really gets boring. The market is changing constantly. There's new platforms, there's more data, there's things being added, things being removed. And I am one that loves the challenge of staying up to date with it, identifying opportunities to get White Shark to leverage these emerging technologies for our own growth as well as the growth of our customers. At a glance, I oversee within our business a few different functional areas. I oversee business intelligence, which is responsible for supplying leadership with KPI dashboards for decision making for the most part. I oversee information technology, who is responsible for network infrastructure, internet security, and everything regarding telecommunication. And of course, last but not least, software engineering. And that's the team that's closest to my heart. And they are the ones responsible for designing, developing, and maintaining web applications for both internal use as well as external use, which we're going to talk about probably in a second. So we have a team of around 12 developers in total. So we have a pretty good vibe in the office, and everyone kind of feels like a small little family. So that's a little bit about myself.
Awesome. And you mentioned quite a few things there, from software engineering to marketing technology. So I'm curious, what's your origin story? Where did your passion for technology come from? And how did all those things collide for you and put you on this path that you're on now?
Yes, I think I blame my passion for tech mostly on video games, if I am 100% honest. I think it all started with, the original Game Boy. Obviously, yes. For reference, I'm 30 years old, so I didn't have access to some of the older antiques, but for me, it started with the Game Boy. And I was always fascinated by just how you could pack so much fun and experiences into this very small little package. And, that was when I was maybe 8-10 years old. And then after that, I was jailbreaking my iPhone. I was rooting my Android phone so I could change the operating system. And the next thing I know, I was developing applications so that I could have things that either other applications didn't offer, or maybe that they didn't do it the way that I liked them to do. So when I was in the early years in college, I was already building some applications for myself. I did an application for reading the newspaper, which back in the day, they didn't have our official local newspaper. They didn't have a app. They just had a website, and it was a pretty clunky website all for the most part. And for some reason, I like reading news. So I was like, okay, well, I figured I could probably do something that pulls the information from that website, puts in the app, and then shows a nice and easy to use application. So that's kind of how it all started for me. And for reference, I was actually studying business administration, not actually computer science or anything related to that. But it was always kind of the thing on the side that I enjoyed as a hobby. And eventually that came and transitioned from being a business oriented person to being more of a engineering oriented professional, which is who I am today.
Love that. And who would have thought that kid that was jailbreaking phones would then take a path that led you to White Shark Media? And there will be a lot of people listening that are hearing about that for the very first time. So can you just tell the listeners a little bit more about the kind of problems that you're solving with technology at White Shark Media?
Well, White Shark Media, for the most part, in its core, it's working with other advertisers or other business owners in the United States primarily. And we work with both the small business owners as well as agency owners. And so one of the solutions that we introduced in 2017 was we introduced our agency partnership program. And so in this agency partnership program, we were working with other either digital agencies or maybe more traditional agencies who wanted to add pay-per-click advertising to their line of business, and they didn't have the experience, or maybe they didn't have the knowledge or the people to be able to deploy that. So they would come to Whitechart, they would work with us, we would deliver the service and provide the expertise, and they would just have to deal with the communication. Now that opened a lot of doors for us, but it also introduced a lot of problems as well, and not necessarily problems that couldn't be solved at the time, but little by little, we identified that we could solve some of those. And one of those things was in order to communicate, you need to learn and understand the jargon. If this is the first time that you're hearing about pay-per-click, even though we're doing the work for you and doing the heavy lifting, maybe when you have to speak to the customer, they're going to ask you some questions you don't understand. So that was one of the first problems we had. The second problem is okay, we're taking care of solving the campaign management part, but how do we enable you as an agency to sell, right? How can you sell if you don't understand the product? You could have a sales team that does things very, very well, but if they don't understand the product that they're selling, they're not going to be very good at it. And then third, how do we offer you the ability to report back to your customers and communicate with them and have a very strong, let's say, channel with our fulfillment team so that we can all be in sync and have nothing falling through the cracks. And so with those kind of pillars in mind, what we did is that we came across or we decided to create a new product called Whitechart Media Compass. And so Compass in itself is a software as a service, which has a little bit of both. It has a little bit of a self-service solution, that software that we created from scratch, a proprietary tool. And it comes along with a little bit of assistance from a human that gets added to your team to enable you to sell better. And so what does Compass have? So Compass has the ability for our partners to create proposals from the ground up. And these are very good looking proposals that are in a PDF format, kind of like a very nice presentation, 10 to 12 pages. And it looks like a professionally done proposal. But the salesperson that's creating that from the agency side, they don't really need to do too much, right? They don't need to understand the product. They just have to choose, let's say, who am I selling to? What would they like to purchase? And then the software is going to allow them to see suggestions based on the website on what could be some good keywords that they could use to advertise. So maybe, again, the sales rep doesn't understand how to do keyword research. So the tool is going to do the keyword research for them. And then the more they pick from the suggestions that we offer, then the more specific the suggestions you're going to get. So the tool learns from what you're picking in order to further narrow down the options for you. And then secondly, one thing that you would have to normally do for a proposal is you then have to be able to tell, okay, well, how much should I spend, right? If I am an advertiser, if I'm a sales rep, how do I tell my lead how much they should spend? So the tool automatically does that as well. So based on whatever you picked, it connects to the Google Ads API, to the Microsoft Advertising API, and it's able to leverage the keyword selections that you have and tell you what is the estimated monthly searches, what is the average CPC that you would normally have to pay for that. And it gives you the ability to choose from a high competition cost per click or a low competition cost per click. So it's got a lot of customization options, but we've kind of built it in a package that is very simple and seamless to use for the sales reps from our agency partners. And so at a glance, once you're done with that, you're good to go. You click finish, and then we'll give you a PDF that it's ready to send. You can send it over to the lead, and then now we've enabled you to sell. The second thing is, as I mentioned, there's a little bit of knowledge gap. So we also have an academy platform where we teach our agency partners, how to position, how to manage, how to rebuttal, how to sell a little bit more efficiently, and we also have a lot of documentation on how to use the tool. And then third, going back to a little bit of the challenge, which is also how do you report back? So we also offer and solve that problem by presenting a tool where they can connect multiple different data sources, such as Google, Microsoft, Facebook ads. They have any sort of email marketing, if they have any leads, any call tracking software. Because when you're working with marketing, there's so many different places where you can gather information from, right? And so we have a reporting engine that's able to connect all that data, put it into a report, and then we're able to customize it for each agency individually. And so that's a little bit of some of the key pillars and problems that we identified when we were working with these agencies, and that we decided to go out and solve through technology that we have created.
Excellent. And one of the reasons I invited you on the podcast today is I wanted to explore what digital marketing strategies business can implement in 2022. It's only a few weeks away now. So to begin with, can you tell me a little bit more about why marketing automation should be on that list?
So the gist of it being is, and this is a general idea, is you want to, where possible, you want to delegate. And this applies to, professional life when you are, a boss and then you have people under you within your team. A lot of times you tend to hold on to tasks because you want to do it yourself. That's just nature. You want to hold on to things. But the gist of it and the message that I want to have for you is delegate where possible tasks, but don't delegate them to a person, delegate them to a computer. As long as the computer can do it better than you, and to a lesser degree, faster than you as well. And so an example of that is, for example, with pay-per-click advertising, when it comes to bidding, it might take you a long time to figure out the bids and adjust them as needed, but there's automated bidding strategies that can do that for you. Or on the other hand, for example, with marketing automation, with email, let's just say you want to blast a campaign and you have hundreds of thousands of leads that you want to reach out to. Can you imagine trying to send those emails one by one? No, God, no. So where marketing automation would allow you to do that by just, crafting a template where you can introduce some variables and then let a tool be able to send those out for you in bulk, right? So the idea here is find within your existing business processes, right? Be very critical about it. Find ways to identify what is taking me a long time to do, and then evaluate, can this be done in a different way? Can a tool do this for me? And then more importantly, is getting that time back to me valuable enough to justify the cost? Because of course, all software has a certain spend, but there's a lot of different tools out there that you can start for free. And the majority of them allow you to take advantage of that. And you can use marketing automation everywhere across your business and life cycle. So for the client life cycle, you could use marketing intelligence to sell. You can use marketing intelligence to prospect. You can use marketing intelligence to have an efficient sales follow-up process, right? And then you can also use marketing intelligence to resell to your existing customers so you can upsell. So you could use it all across the board. It's just about finding where can that make the biggest difference for you? What's the low-hanging fruit within your business? And I would say start there.
And what about audience segmentation? Where's that fit in? And can you expand on that? And also the role of technology in making that possible?
So audience segmentation is key. And this is more important the bigger the business you are, right? So depending on what kind of products and services you're offering, you might have one single audience that you want to target or multiple different audiences. And one of the things that has changed over time, and we're seeing more and more of this as time goes by, is data collection. So there is tons of different platforms out there that are collecting more and more information about each individual user, whether that is, what pages they visited, what, searches they have performed, what products they have viewed at any particular point in time, what is their gender, what is their location. There's so many different signals that you can use, and all of technology, that's what technology is trying to do, is trying to help you be able to bucket and interpret this information to create an ideal customer profile. So what you want to make sure that you do is that you do the proper investigation and that you take the time to see, okay, where would my customers typically be in? Like, are they going to be on social media? Are they going to be searching actively, or are they more often than not just actually browsing, pages, right? So once I've identified where are they going to be, well, then now let's talk about what are some of the signals that are available for me to use in those different platforms. So for example, if I'm advertising, on Facebook, I might be able to choose the age range. I might be able to choose the location. I might be able to choose, okay, well, what pages do they follow? What are similar pages that would be interested to do that? So there's a variety of different tools that different platforms have enabled you to use for segmentation. And it is so critical that we are able to test different audiences out, because one of the common errors that I see when I work with other agencies or even with some of our customers is they only have one segment, and they only have like 2 or 3 identifiers. You know what I mean? So they only have like the classic age range, maybe a little bit of gender, and maybe perhaps one interest at most. And that's it. Like that's all they do. They'll set it up once and then they forget it. So what I would like to invite you to do is to make sure that you not only do A/B testing on your ad copy, but you also A/B test on your segmentation, and try to be as specific as possible and then expand from there. But have let's say the time and the patience to test out different signals, to see which one responds better and how that creative that you put into place is also tied into the segment that you chose.
And another reason I was excited to get you on the podcast today was also to explore the tech behind automated bidding and how making bids automatic instead of manually actually gives personnel more time to dedicate to other marketing efforts. So can you expand on that and the tech behind automated bidding too?
So automated bidding is something that it's not necessarily new to the market. Google has pioneered that for a very long time now. And so going back to what we were saying earlier, it's about identifying which processes take you a very long time to do. And they either don't provide as much value or your time could be best spent elsewhere, right? And so when we talk about bidding, imagine you have a campaign with hundreds of keywords on each individual ad group. And let's say you're a department store, so you have a variety of different products and services that you offer. So your campaign could be huge, right? And so if you only have one person, or even if you have a small team working on it, do you really want them to spend a bulk of their time going through, and modifying just a few cents on the bid, pushing it up or down, maybe up to $1. But at the end of the day, you're not really going to change much. And this is a reactive change, which means you have to wait for a certain performance or event to happen in order to be able to make a change. And then you have to wait and see what the results of that is. So it's a recurring event. And at the end of the day, you're being a little reactive to it. So what is the difference between that and automated bidding is, if you go to Google and you just say, listen, this is my objective, this is what I would like to do. And in general terms, I'd like a conversion to cost me around $150. That's what I would like to see. Okay, great. So Google now says, okay, well, whenever somebody's searching for these keywords that you have in place, we'll run through a variety of different signals. And Google has access to more data than you. That's the first thing that you need to understand is they have access to consumer previous search behavior. They have access to thousands of different things that can influence their decision at that real time. And so they'll evaluate all of those in a split second and then say, okay, well, this is not a good person for us to show your ad to, or this is a great person, very likely to buy. We're going to up your bid by 200% because it's likely to turn into a conversion. And so it's about understanding that they have the upper hand in terms of how much information they can use to make that decision. And now it's not reactive, it's proactive. It's because they're being able to interpret information at a glance and, let's say, sort of predict what's about to happen and whether or not this is a good result for your business. So understanding that, and there's nothing wrong with that, because what that's going to do now is that 30 minutes that you would spend working on your bids, you can now put it back into what we do best. So what do humans do best? Strategize. We do best at being critical thinkers. We do best at, getting creative in terms of figuring out, okay, let's do some proper copywriting. Okay, is my messaging very well connected to my keywords? And does that translate very well to the landing page? Can I make some A/B testing on my ad copy to see if I can deliver the message differently? And then this time try it out. And, Google's not going to be able to do that very well for you, or even Facebook or any other platform, right? That's your job because you know your business better than anybody else. So that's where you can provide the most value. So it's just about being able to differentiate what takes you longest. And again, where can you provide the most value? So if you can get a lot of time back because you've done automated bidding, that's great. And in terms of experience, I could tell you that automated bidding for us has made a huge difference as an organization. We've been able to save time. We've been able to spend more time speaking to our customers. So from our side, that's what we wanted to get most time back for, so that we are able to drive and establish better relationships with our customers and talk to them, as opposed to just spending, an hour a day on just bidding. So that's what I can tell you from our side.
Love that. And if we were to look into the future, we're on the verge of entering a new year. Are there any particular tech trends or more tech trends that particularly excite you at the moment?
I think I'm super curious about what's going to happen with cookies and third-party tracking. As you know, in 2021, that's been the conversation. There's been a lot of updates by Apple in terms of third-party tracking and blocking third-party tracking. There's a lot of that being phased out. So I'm very excited to see what sort of trends are going to come out of that in terms of what solutions can now be offered, or how does that impact the way that we advertise? Going back to audience segmentation, if there's not a lot of third-party tracking, then does that mean, and with the phase out of cookies and giving the user more control over what data is collected, is that going to make it more difficult for advertisers to segment their audiences and be able to deliver powerful messages, right? And tailored messages at the end of the day. So I'm very excited to see what is going to come as a result of that. And then as a second one, I would love to see what platforms are going to come up next in terms of being leaders in the market. So right now, it's always been Google, and Facebook for the most part. Those are the two ones. And so I want to see if maybe Amazon's going to pick up the pace and start, capturing a little bit more of the market when it comes to advertising. Because one of the things that we're very excited to work on is, again, just continuing to invest in our reporting. And in order for us to invest correctly, we need to really see who is going to be the top dog, so to speak, in terms of marketing platforms and marketing outputs. And then also so that we can evaluate our offering. So those to me would be the two more important things. And I also see that there's a lot of transitioning over to just automated management to a degree. And so I'm curious to see if there's going to be new players coming up in the market when it comes to, again, managing campaigns through a tool as opposed to doing it through the individual vendors, such as Google and Microsoft or Facebook.
And what about you guys? What's next for you and White Shark Media? What you're going to be focusing on next year? Is there anything you can share on that?
Yes, we have exciting news coming. Absolutely. I can't give all of it away, but I can tell you that we have collectively made a decision to be very aggressive on building proprietary software and investing in our technology team over the next 12 to 18 months. And what we have in mind is to create a flagship product that we can go out to market with and be competitive from day one with a lot of the tools that are out there that are top dogs in the reporting, in the budget pacing world, and the campaign management platforms, and everything that has to do with what would a startup, marketing agency, like a small to medium sized agency need in terms of PPC software, in terms of marketing software. And that's kind of the area where we're going to want to compete. So we're aggressively going to be pursuing that goal over the next 12 months. I'm already in the process of, hiring more developers. I'm in the process of hiring a few more UX engineers so that we can create a very beautiful experience for buyers. And as I mentioned, one of the things that drives me is to create experiences. That's like what I enjoy the most about technology. And I love that technology enables me to create these experiences for users and people. And so I'm very excited about what's to come for White Shark Media in the next 12 months.
Love that. And we started our conversation today talking about your origin story, what put you on this path. And before I let you go, we're going to have a bit of fun now. And I'm going to ask you, what was the soundtrack to that origin story? Is there a particular song or piece of music that has accompanied you? Or maybe a guilty pleasure, I don't know, or something that just helps get your head in the zone before going on stage? Is there a particular song and story you've got for us?
I can tell you that I listen to a little bit of everything. I think it just depends on what the mood is for the most part. I would say that I'm 90% rock, like old school rock, like the Iron Maidens, Metallicas, and songs of that nature. There's some even maybe heavier bands than that. I don't know if you've ever heard of like Kill Switch Engage or As I Lay Dying. So there's a lot of that very, very heavy rock songs that And to me, that's kind of, I'm not about the lyrics. I'll tell you, I'm 100% honest with you. I'm not a lyrics guy. I'm more of a rhythm guy. That's what gets me in the zone. It's guitar riffs, it's, drum sets, everything like that. That's what usually, I actually played the guitar for a number of years. I have an electric guitar myself. I started with an acoustic guitar. So I'm very much about melody and like I said, riffs and just rhythm in general. So I would say those would be the majority of the time. And if we're talking about guilty pleasure, I would say probably when nobody's watching, I sing to John Mayer. So you'll catch me doing that when I'm, heading to the office in the car and I'm by myself, and I'm probably just singing, Gravity or any songs from John Mayer in general. I love Live in LA. That is, to me, the best album in the world. So if you need to listen to one song or one album, I would say John Mayer, Live in LA is my jam. If I could move back in time and be at a concert, that would be the one that I would go to.
Oh man, absolutely love it. And I love the contrast as well. And how you've got such an eclectic taste in music, and you can be listening to the uber cool John Mayer 1 minute and then rocking out to Kill Switch Engage the next. Absolutely love that. But before I let you go, for anyone listening wanting to find out more information about anything we talked about today and White Shark Media, or contact your team, what's the best starting point?
Absolutely. You can learn more about me, about White Shark Media, and our Compass offering at whitesharkmedia.com and wsmcompass.com. You can also shoot us an email to info@whitesharkmedia.com, and we always have somebody on the team ready to speak to anyone that's interested.
Well, we've covered a lot today, from marketing automation, audience segmentation, automated bidding. But more than anything, I think it's your human story. Great song choices. It's just great hearing more about you and what you're going to be focusing on next year. So thanks for sitting down and sharing that with me today.
Absolutely, Neil. Thank you so much for inviting me over. It's been a great pleasure. I hope to, do more of these in the future, and I appreciate you very much.
Wow, covered so much there, such as automating marketing and how it allows for better personalization in marketing content while also being more time efficient. And also, by obtaining data and segmenting your audience, you have a much better chance of engaging your product or service with customers to convert them faster. And also for talking about automated bidding there, I must admit, as a tech guy rather than a marketing guy, making bids automatic instead of manual in that industry is very new to me, so I learned something too, and I hope you did. But more than anything, just a big thank you for Daniel for coming on and sharing his story today. But over to you. If you've got a story wherever you listen in the world, I want to get you on here. I want to hear, or if you don't want to come on the podcast, just want to send a quick message. Just say hello, I listen to the podcast, whatever it may be. Send that message now. techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn at Neil C. Hughes. And my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. But we're out of time, so thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.